Hello, welcome to today's exciting episode of the Law Show. As you can see, I've got a couple of my learning friends here with us in the studios. I'm going to talk about them in a few moments. But first, let's start with saying that I was pleasantly surprised when I got to know that law students at the prestigious Ambrose Alli University divided themselves into campus chambers and actually named one after me, Dele Igbinedion Chambers on campus Ambrose Alli University. So I was shocked and pleasantly surprised. So today, the executives and some of the principal members came calling. So we are here to we've had some chats, and we also wanted to do something for you guys out there so that you can be a part of the conversation. So I'm going to introduce to my left, firstly, Caleb Donald is the principal counsel of I'm still a little bit shy to say, but Dele Igbinedion Chambers, AU. Okay, so that's Caleb Donald. How are you?
I'm fine, sir.
Okay, so you have to talk a little bit loud. Say hello.
Hello.
Okay. And the deputy principal counsel is Esosa Ayudubie. Esosa, yeah, okay, that's you. Esosa Ayudubie.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Okay. Then we have the secretary of Dele Igbinedion Chambers in Ambrose Alli University, which is an entirely student thing. They're going to tell us a little bit about what they actually do on campus. Toyin Ajekaye is here.
Yeah. Hello, everyone.
Okay. And then, all right, so we come back to principal member of the campus chamber, Tracy Adare.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. And then Simeon Akala.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon.
Okay. And then Stephanie Ohioma,
Good afternoon, everyone.
who is an ex-coordinator. Ex-coordinator. Okay, so, I mean, really and truly, what do you guys do? I mean, what is this thing about? First of all, there's no affiliation between my chambers and what you guys are doing there. We have to, hands up, say that first of all, so that no one goes away with any wrong impression. So why did you guys decide to name Dele Igbinedion Chambers? I mean, what was the motivation?
Okay, Dele Igbinedion Campus Chambers is actually a platform where student council get to build your advocacy skill. And the major reason why we named the chambers after Barrister Dele Igbinedion is because of his legal prowess. We have heard so much about him, about his human rights activism, and we decided to name the chambers after him. Since the essence of the campus chambers is to build people in advocacy and to raise a human rights activist, so we decided to name the chambers after him.
Interesting. Okay, so I mean, is it only Dele Igbinedion Chambers you have on campus? Which other chambers do you have?
No, exactly. We have other chambers.
You have other chambers,
Yes,
okay.
like Lord Denny Campus.
Okay, there's Lord Denny,
And we have Honorable Dele Igbinedion Campus Chamber.
Judge Akigbe.
Yes.
Which one? The former chief judge?
Yes.
The late chief judge?
Yes.
Okay.
And we have Bola Adekale Campus Chamber.
Okay, Bola Adekanle Campus Chambers.
And Dele Igbinedion, just
Dele Igbinedion. Okay, I'm really, really honored to be among those greats that you mentioned. Lord Denning is an icon in the practice of law in all over the world. And then Judge Agigbe, my Lord Judge Agigbe of blessed memory, was former chief judge of Edo State, and he was a man of towering credentials. And then Barrister Bola Adekanle is a very senior member of the bar and someone whom I've known for several years. And I have the highest, degree of respect for him. So, all right. So, guys, thank you for coming on board. All right. Okay. So, for you to have, honored me with that among those greats, it's awesome for me. I'm very humbled, and I thank you guys. So, I want to say again, if you are watching, whatever they're doing, they have nothing to do with what I'm doing. I think it's just a name they picked from, and then, but they're here, and we thought we should do something, by way of educational for our people. So we'll just do a few round of questions and answers if you have some questions on areas that, we want us to talk about. So who's going to go first?
Okay, our principal counsel.
Principal counsel, okay.
So there is this trending happenings in our hospitals, both private and public hospitals, where if a patient is unable to pay hospital bills,
yes,
the hospital will detain such a patient till he or she is able to raise the money to pay the hospital bill. Now, what is the position of the law in this case, in this scenario?
That's a good one. So the hospital has treated the patient,
Yes.
and they have charged their bill, and the patient is unable to pay their bill, and then they say, you know what, we're not going to let you go until you pay our bills. The danger being, if they let the patient go, that will be the end, because they may not be able to trace that patient, so they have to protect their own interests by detaining the patient until the relatives or whosoever comes to pay. Now you want to know whether it's right or whether it's wrong. Well, first of all, nobody has any right to detain someone, without some valid order of court, except in circumstances that are enumerated, by law, either for the protection of the person, and those circumstances anyway do not extend to non-payment of bill. It's also like you go into a restaurant to eat, and you eat a little bit more than than you can afford, and then they lock the person up there. Or you take a taxi, it takes you beyond where your fare can ordinarily fund, and then they say, okay, until you pay, they're going to lock you inside the restroom or something there. I would ordinarily think that there are legal avenues available to the hospital to do that, instead of locking people up. Like you said, it's widespread, but it ought not to be like that, because the hospital could easily expose themselves to charges of false imprisonment, and it will hardly be a defense in the light of the authorities that they say, oh, it's owing us money, so that means anybody owing you money, you can just detain the person and just lock him up, So having said that, we must also, on the other hand, because the point must be made that if people go to hospitals, they should actually be ready to pay their bills, because these hospitals, they survive with these bills, with this money, isn't it? So if you don't pay and I don't pay and he doesn't pay and she doesn't pay and he doesn't pay and the other person doesn't pay, the hospital will go out of business. So hospitals must, in a way, find a way to ameliorate their losses, recognize that there are people who will not be able to pay, while there will be people who will be able to pay. It's much also like law practice. We as lawyers, you do cases for people, some are able to pay, some are not able to pay, but you take from those who can pay to assist those who cannot pay. So I think there's a balance in society, there's a balance in life.
Yes,
And that's also something that they must look up to. I think there are two decisions of courts on that point, that you don't you don't assume a right to detain a patient because he's owing you money. You do not have a right to detain a patient, to detain anybody just because the person owes you money. What the law expects you to do is to sue the person. Even as lawyers, the law does not give us the authority to say because a client or ex-client is owing us money, we will not leave the case. Some lawyers, I want to do that. Say, he's owing me money, my lord. I will not leave this case until he pays me money. And some judges will say, this case will not go on, go and pay him money. But it's been our, humble submission that is actually a wrong process, because the law says if somebody is owing you money, you go and sue him to recover your money. You go and file a civil suit to recover your money. You don't take the law into your own hands. You don't lock him up or beat him up or adopt some extrajudicial sort of approach. Okay, so I hope I've answered that question.
Yes,
all right, I hope the hospital people are listening and watching, because you people are the culprits in this thing. All right, any other question?
Okay, sir. I want to ask this question, and it's general. It's
Yeah.
not just you being a human rights lawyer.
Okay.
I want to ask, I presume you handle other cases
Yes, I do.
outside human rights.
Yes.
So what has been your challenges so far? I presume you've been more than 10 years at the bar. So what have been your challenges generally?
Okay. Well, I'm quite young at the bar. I was called to bar in 1988. 4th of November 1988.
That's a long time ago.
So I don't
That's a
know.
long time ago.
So that's a little bit
Decades.
above. That's a little bit above 10 years. Above 10 years, isn't it?
I presume you more than 10 years.
A little bit above
That's
10 years.
decades ago.
Yeah. So asking about the challenges that I have faced as a lawyer. What are challenges really? Have I really faced any challenges? Frankly, the way my mind is wired, it's not a positive thinking or success motivation thing or faith thing, but my mind is wired really not to recognize challenges, so it's difficult for me to characterize, events as challenges, like David will say that goodness and mercy, they follow me. So when he looks back, all he can see following him are goodness and mercy. He's never seen a challenge, even when he says, how does he say, even though I pass through the valley of the shadow of death, say, I fear no evil, that kind of thing. So that has been my attitude. And then there's one he talks about, he says, he maketh a table before me in the presence of my enemies. So, really and truly, I really haven't had any challenges, as a lawyer. I've had all these years of the highest level of enjoyment. I wake up every morning, I'm excited that, I'm a lawyer. I practically jump and, I'm like, woo, this is another day, I'm going to sue somebody. That kind of thing. So, that's me. Some people think it's weird that, you could enjoy suing people, that much, but that's what I just enjoy suing and being sued, So, but for other lawyers, in terms of what I hear, you have the long hours that you have to put in to actually be good. Not the best at what you do to be good, the long hours. They complain about, the amount of reading they have to do. It's unending, it's intense, it's visceral, but for me, really, I don't enjoy any other thing. I'm the kind of guy who, I remember once I was in Belgium. There's a city in Belgium called Bruges, and I went with a friend of mine who was working in a pub, and I went there with a big book, one Shakespeare's volume, and while she was doing her, she was serving drinks, and white people were drinking, I was in one corner, good light. NEPA doesn't take light abroad. I read through the night, and they couldn't imagine. They would come and just look at this black man who was just reading among all the noise. White people in that part of they like, what's the music called now? Not rock.
Blues.
Not blues. There's the one that's always bang, 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 and they're always shaking their head like, so you had all of them shaking their head like that. I just look at them, I feel so sorry. I'll just keep reading my Shakespeare, all through the night. So I'm that kind of person. I enjoy reading. The best place I enjoy most being is in a library. So for me, reading is just, it's just the icing on the cake, You are introduced to these great minds. You are introduced to these legends, You enter a library, you take a law report, you are reading a judgment by Justice Kayode Esho, even though it's of blessed memory, you are immersed in his reasoning. You don't want to eat. You don't want to eat food. You just want to read that judgment, So that's for me. When they talk about long hours, that's cool. The hard work, I enjoy it. I mean, that's the in thing for me. What else? Okay, I don't know. I can't think of any challenges really. Okay, some people say when you get judgment, getting it, executing it is difficult. I've never characterized it that way. I've always felt that these stepping stones actually separate the men from the boys. Separate the men from the boys, so if it's easy, everyone will do it, so that's my attitude, so I really don't, they talk also about finance, the economy is bad, and it's never been an issue for me. I've never had to consider, there's no money around, the economy is bad. It's just not the kind of thing that I think about, really and truly. God supplies all our needs, Yes, there are days you go to the office as a private lawyer and you don't have, X amount of money in your pocket. But my reasoning always is that a man's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. It's not how much you have in your bank account that determines whether you have money or you don't have money. Because every day brings his own blessings. As a lawyer, every day brings. I hope I'm not being preachy. I hope I'm not being preachy. Answer your question, but this is just the way I reason, and I think that a large part of your success or your greater success, let me not say failure now, your success or your greater success is going to be fueled and prepared from within by the way you reason. By the way you reason, the way you think. Most of the things that people see as difficulties, as challenges, I see as opportunities. I don't actually see as a challenge. I don't actually see. When you encounter people, some judges are nice, some judges are not nice. I don't really take it personal, and I don't see it as a challenge. I just think, okay, how can I do it better when I appear before this judge? How can I? I'm not advertising or whatever, Anybody watching this will not think, he's trying to blow his trumpet, but this is just the way that I reason. And every law student, like you guys, should also, if I could recommend, not think otherwise, because the world is full of abundant opportunities. It's a flagrant cornucopia of opportunities in every area, left, right, center. Look to your right, look to your left, look to your back, look to your front. There's opportunities everywhere. The whole place is just, to use for want of a better word, virgin. Okay? So you just, expand. Just as a law student, I was already writing wills and contracts for people. It's a law student. And these chambers you had now, as a law student, I had it in the university and I was suing.
Wow.
I was suing fellow students in the university,
Wow.
Because there are students who had money to pay, Some people come from a good, financial background, and, so when, so instead of calling some cultists to go and deal with that guy, we serve him a letter, a demand letter, that kind of thing. So that's it, but I mean, if there's any specific thing you have in mind in terms of this could be a challenge, we could address it. But me as an individual, I only see opportunities. Where I see a problem, I try to fashion out what is the solution. That's my attitude. What's the solution? Because once I heard, a great man of God who said that look out for a need and reach out to meet that need. That's the definition of success. So he said, the man who can always meet needs would always have a business, would always have a job, would never be unemployed. You know, so, but again, we have another segment for success, don't we? Success motivation. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that. So you have anything you want to talk about?
Sir, in 2016, when you came to our school for a public lecture, and you talk about $1 million or $1 billion lawyer.
$1 billion lawyers.
And many persons were actually thrilled, like everybody just wanted to become an human activist. Everybody was like, wow, this man is making lots and lots and lots of money. But some persons actually sat back and talked about, what about the threats that comes with this being a human rights activist? Like, where persons that you're even trying to help tend to even threaten your life and that of your family, or maybe persons you're actually fighting against tend to actually threaten you in such, and that has actually shaded a lot of persons away from even trying to be this $1 billion lawyer thing. So I just wanted to address the issue because of some persons that are actually sitting back, and students like us that really wants to know how can they cope or manage these challenges or these threats that comes from being a human rights activist.
Okay. First of all, I recall several years ago when my mentor, the late Chief Fawahimi was alive, and I went to see him because then I was in the House of Assembly. We had an issue and we needed to go and take, yes, I was in the House of Assembly, I was a member of the House in my early 20s, okay, so, Edo State House of Assembly, by the way. This was around 1990s, 1990, 91, 92, thereabout. So we went to see Gani Fawahimi to be our lawyer. Was it? Okay, and then through that period, I was now the one like the liaison between the House of Assembly and himself. I used to go to his office. And anytime I go, he will come out, he will leave his office and walk me out to the car. You know, he was such a humble man. You know, he was such a humble man. He would walk me out to the car. So on this occasion, when we came out, I had a driver and then there was a police orderly. So the police orderly came down, opened the door for me, and you know, with all the, and he was like, "Who is this?" I said, "Sir, it's my orderly." He said, "Why do you need him?" And I said, "For protection." He said, Dele, it is only God that protects. So you know, so it's only God that protects. You know, but he said it's good for the symbolism. But you know, my point is, when we talk about the threats that a lawyer, you know, receives, a human rights lawyer receives, it's God really that protects. You know, that's number one. Then number two, people of goodwill are everywhere. You know, and that's important to remember that where there is one person who is organizing against you as a lawyer, there would most likely in his group be one person who you have helped either directly or indirectly. You know, and that has been my common experience. You know, I go to places and people are like, "Oh, you don't know me." And say, "No, do you remember you handled the case like this, like this?" Yeah, I think so. It's okay. You know, that person was my brother or my sister or something like that, you know. So, you also have to rely on serendipity because you can't, the practice of human rights is really and truly, to my mind, a calling. It's like a calling. It's like something that you are born into. You are imbued with all these, what do I call them now? All the sensitivity for human rights issues, where the ordinary lawyer will not see, you know, will not see a breach of human rights. You will see a ton of it. So, and then you have to work on your believing. You have to work on your faith. You know, Pastor Chris will say, working on your believing. You have to like say, okay, yeah, I can do it. You know. I can do it. You know, I mean, with pep talk, you have to give yourself pep talk, you know, really and truly, because you are a message for a generation. You are a message as a human rights lawyer. You stand for an objective. You stand for an ideal. And you can't chicken out. You really cannot chicken out. You know, Shakespeare said, our fears are traitors. Our fears are traitors. He said, preventing us from the good that we ought to attain by failing to attempt. You know, so fears prevent us from the good that we ought to attain because we fail to attempt because we are afraid. You know, so yes, many times fear comes up because, you know, fear comes up because you remember the adversary and what they are capable of, you know, extrajudicially, extra-legally, you know, but you've got to go to that court, you've got to argue that case that day, you've got to show up. So you take precautions if you have to. Yeah, if you don't have to drive your own car, don't drive your car. If you have to use someone's car, you know, whatever you have to do within human, do it, you know, but show up. That's the important thing. You know, show up. Okay, I don't know if that you have more questions, but before we do that one, let's just take a short break. Can we do a break now? If you are tuning in for the very first time, you are not subscribed to this YouTube channel, can we ask you to subscribe? Click the notification bell so that whenever we upload videos, you get them right away, and give us a thumbs up if you like this. And if you have any comments about some of the questions we are discussing here, by all means, leave us a comment in the comment section, and we'll be sure to get back. 24 hours, 7 days a week. You can find your favorite program, Law and You, only on Pinnacle TV. So I'm talking with Caleb Donald, who is the principal counsel of AAU, Ambrose Alli University, Dele Igbinedion Campus Chambers, not affiliated in any way with my firm, not affiliated in any way. It's just a student thing, but they came calling and we thought we should do this. And then there's a Social Ayedubie, who is deputy principal counsel, and then we have Tracy, who is a member, right? Okay, so Social Ayedubie, your question.
This is for us here and also for everyone back at home, our students and everything.
Yeah.
What has been your watchword?
Yes.
What a particular word has kept you going?
Okay.
Then what is your advice for us learning friends?
Okay. First of all, what has been my watchword? Watchword as a lawyer, you mean?
Yes, yes.
My watchword as a lawyer. Well, one day I heard Chief Ganifa Wahimi say that his objective was to democratize legal knowledge. And I was fascinated by that phrase, the democratization of the knowledge of the law. You know, it's been my watchword. In everything that I've done as a lawyer, particularly in these kind of TV shows that I do, I try to enlighten people about their legal rights in my writings, in books, on social media, etc. I really don't want to attract attention to myself. It's not my objective at all. I don't like self-promotion. I'm the most private person you can ever find on earth. You know, apart from practice of law, I don't attend parties. I'm not good at mixing around, you know, that kind of thing. But I have a passion to democratize the knowledge of the law, to get people to understand their legal rights, to get people to be able to take decisions to enforce their legal rights, because the price of liberty, somebody said, is perpetual vigilance.
Yes, sir.
Perpetual vigilance, the price of liberty. You know, I mean, I lived in England for a couple of years, and in England, you have organizations called Citizens Advice Bureaus. Those are offices that are opened and staffed and funded by government only for the purpose of giving people, you know, first line advice on their legal rights. So every sort of, maybe in a city you may have like 3 or 4 spread across the different sectors of the city. So any citizen who just doesn't know his legal rights, you want to ask questions. There are solicitors everywhere, there are barristers, but you can't afford to pay. You just want that basic, you know, advice, knowledge. You just walk in. You know, so Citizens Advice Bureaus are there in England. And this is a society that you and I know people say people already know their rights. In other words, it's a literate society, it's an educated society. Yet the government funds citizens' advice bureaus. You need, basic advice on, police have arrested somebody. You just walk in there, they give you advice. Oh, my landlord is threatening to throw me out, or he's giving me this quit notice, I don't know what to do. You just walk in there. I'm a foreigner, and I need to apply for my residence, I don't know what to do. You walk in there. Free of charge. They don't charge you. So, and I haven't lived in England and seen this, and I come here. My dream is, wish we could have this sort of thing. But for present purposes, this is what we can do. We can write books, we can use social media platforms, we can do this sort of thing, just to get people to understand their legal rights. So that has been my watchword. Now, advice to you guys. My advice to you. It's difficult to give advice unless you are you need to see law not just as an end in itself, but as a means to an end. And what I mean by that is we are all relevant. Somebody said that in the world you have many voices, and each voice has its own significance. So you must realize that you are an important piece of the puzzle of life. You are an important piece in Nigeria today and tomorrow. So once you qualify as a lawyer, is the best you could ever get. Is the best you could ever get, because your law degree opens any door to you. You can sue anybody for any violation of human rights. So somebody was, and you have a contribution to make in this country. We must not all run away. Yes, I lived abroad for years, but I came back. And people ask me, how do you live in that country? How do you stay? Why don't you just come back? My children say, Daddy, don't go back again. Don't go again. Stay in England. Come on. This is where we can be relevant. If you are in England or in America, you are like a fish in the ocean. Nobody knows you. Nobody will recognize you. Your achievements, what achievement can you put on the table now to rival Lord Denny? Anything you can do, any decision, any judgment, any principle of law, which one? Which one? But here in Nigeria, your input can be felt even by the people from your village. If you just focus on protecting the human rights of people from your village, you would have achieved a lot. You would have achieved a lot. So that's just focus on human rights of women, human rights of children, human rights of the dumb and the deaf, human rights of the lecturers, human rights of students in universities. If you make that your specialization, you'd have achieved a lot. And this is where your achievements can actually, in fact, God can record it. You can record your achievement. But the one you achieve in America, God doesn't see it, because what are you doing? There are American lawyers who have 4 or 5 private jets in one law firm. 4 private jets. Which law are you coming to propound that that will make sense, that they have not seen? But here in Nigeria, where we are a developing country, we can still articulate some precepts, some concepts of law that will be appreciated by judges, and they will be like, that's a brilliant thing. I think we can actually change the law in that direction. You can contribute to amending the laws. You can contribute to law reform. You can contribute to human rights development. Human rights, we have chapter 4, human rights. Just one chapter. America or in England, the right to free speech, for example, is a whole book of its own. Just the right to free speech. This one that we don't have it in one section in our constitution. No. So we have a long way to go. And my advice for you is to see yourself as the person whom God has chosen to get the job done. Not all of us, because if you stand by and look and say, okay, well, Dele Igbinedion is going to do it. He's really doing a nice job. I don't need to do anything. You are wrong. Because my perspective can never be yours. You will always see things with a different inspiration from me. I don't know if you get my point. Yeah, so I think that is okay.
Thank you.
Does it answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions?
So I have one question for you.
Okay, go on.
Concerning the recent judgment in Bayelsa governorship election, there have been uproar. So many people are saying that the court has usurped the power of the electorate in choosing their representative at the state level.
Okay.
That assertion, is it really true? Because the court has the power to give judgment, but they are saying that the court has usurped the power of the electorate in choosing their representative. Is that assertion true?
Well, was it? I'm sure you studied this. Was it Oliver Wendell Holmes or so?
Oliver Wendell Holmes says
who said that
the prophecy of what the court will do,
yes,
and nothing more pretentious is what I see as the law.
That's all. So if Nigerian people want to elect electorate, the process of election by law also includes the judicial process.
Yes. Wow.
Nobody should forget that. In fact, the process of anything you do in life also could directly or indirectly include the judicial process. Your ownership of a parcel of land, even if your father, your grandfather or father or uncle left the land for you as an inheritance, I could come and challenge you, right?
Yes, sir.
So the enforcement of your inheritance could involve the court, for the court to look at it and say, no, it belongs to you, not to me. They'll get out of this place. So the courts are seen by some people as strangers in the electoral process. That is so constitutionally illiterate. Because the Electoral Act gives the court the power as a final arbiter. That's number one. Number two, if the people want to elect people as their representatives, you need to elect people. If anything we do must be in accordance with the law. So when you elect, you must elect in accordance with the law. How do you elect in accordance with the law? You cannot elect somebody who wants to be deputy governor of a state with fake credentials. The law says you should have a minimum. I mean, you are spending time in school, aren't you? Studying and swatting and, and then somebody who never just goes and prints it somewhere and, he wants to become, he wants to be your boss. How is that going to work? So that is the point. My simple attitude is that the courts are part and they are part of the three arms of government, isn't there? Yes. You have the legislature, you have the executive, you have the judiciary. The legislature made the law relating to elections. They made the prescriptions, qualifications. The executive tends to implement that law by organizing the elections for the people to come and vote. By, accepting your qualification, I accept yours, I accept yours. I say, okay, you push, come and vote for the three of them. So the first one is the legislature, the second one is the executive. Then the judiciary also has a role to play in the election. And the role of the judiciary is to determine if any matter is brought to them to decide it. The judges did not wake up one morning and decide, okay, chief judge, small judge, assistant judge, this Bayelsa thing, it's like nothing is, we don't have any work.
Let's go.
Let's do something about Bayelsa. No, people, somebody was aggrieved. Somebody came to them to say, look, this is my complaint. And the principle is, ubi jus, ubi remedium. Where there is a wrong, the court must give a remedy, even if the remedy affects you. Sorry. So, those who say, I repeat again, that the courts are choosing a representative for their people I think they are being myopic. If you're sorry, I don't want to offend anybody, but don't forget that the Buhari Obasanjo contest went to court. Did he go to court?
Yes, sir.
Buhari, Shehu Musa Yar'Adua, I think. Who contested against Yar'Adua? Okay, whoever. But Buhari contested about 3 times.
Yes.
And on each of the occasions, okay, contested against Goodluck Jonathan.
Yes.
He also went to court. Before he eventually emerged or something. So that was also a process. Everything ends in court. Everything begins and ends in court. So everybody should get used to it. Get used to it. Let's all get used to it. When you see judges, remember they could be deciding your future. So treat them with respect. Okay? So 2 questions. I think we've come to the end of. Do you have questions? If you do have, you are free to come and ask. Okay. You have one question. Oh, yeah, come up and ask.
So my question is for the issue of this coronavirus that is going on now.
Okay.
I heard that in North Korea, for example, someone was actually infected with the virus, and the person was shot dead on the spot. Now, certain persons have been, bringing up the idea that, okay, fine, in Nigeria now, for example, there's one person in Lagos that has actually been found that is infected with the coronavirus, and some persons are actually deliberating whether or not that same person should be shot, or persons that are infected with coronavirus should be killed immediately. So, sir, if actually the how I put it now, government decides to say, okay, fine, anybody that is infected with such a virus should be killed immediately, due to the fact that whether the person will still end up dying, and then the person may even be like, he may even infect other persons with it. So what if the government now decides to actually how I put it now, bring up this law, make it, enforce it? What is the stand of those persons that are to be killed, and is it by any way infringing on their fundamental human rights to life? That's the question.
Wow. I shouldn't have called you. Anyway, that's a wonderful one. What's your name again? Stephanie O'Human. That's a good one. Well, the coronavirus thing has thrown up, like they say, wonders will never end. Has thrown up a wonder, a situation of great difficulty and dilemma for juggernauts and legal philosophers and jurisprudentialists. I also heard that in China, the Chinese government has applied to the High Court to execute
about
2,000 persons that are infected with the virus. So it's difficult because they're saying right now there's no cure for the virus. So anyone who is infected, it's a sure death sentence.
Yes.
But life is sweet. And nobody really wants to die. So it's a good question as to whether such an action will not infringe on their fundamental rights. However, the fundamental rights provisions of the Constitution is to the effect that, right to life except upon sentence of a court. So somehow the government must try to get a court pronouncement on the issue, before they can take the step to execute or kill anybody who has been infected, who is going to die anyway.
So, sir, are you in support of that?
Of the death sentence, or of persons who are infected being killed immediately?
What's your own take?
Well, I have to say that it's something I've never really thought about. Yes, when I read about the Chinese government making that application, I found it curious. On the one hand, there is no cure. But then on the other hand, who knows, tomorrow there might be a cure. We understand that some people are working very hard to develop a vaccine. But in the interim, where do they keep these people? Anybody that gets in contact with them also gets infected, and then he gets infects, and then that one infects the next person, and that one infects the next person. So am I in support of killing anyone who gets infected? I want to tell you it's a difficult one. It's something that I really, really, really have to think about. Because when you are talking about taking life, my training is, you passes through the court process and let the judge decide. But necessity, prevention of an epidemic has never been. This situation has never come up in law at all. So maybe national security issue. But the person is a threat to national security. But that issue used to apply under the Terrorism Act to enemy combatants or people who have declared themselves as enemies of the state, And then, but even at that, you must try them for treason. So they must have committed an offense by their overt act, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
But this one now, what has the person done? What has the person done? So I would rather be inclined towards asking the government to try to see how they can help the person, to get the doctors to cure the person. That's what I would be inclined to, instead of saying, look, we'll just, put a bullet through the person's head. I'm not such a violent person, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so that's how it's been today on The Law Show. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have not subscribed, please do subscribe. And then, at least subscribe to encourage my learning friends here. So we call them learning friends because they are still learning the law. They are not lawyers yet. And I have to finally issue this disclaimer for the avoidance of doubt. The chambers they have in Ambrose Alli University has nothing to do with me. I don't fund it. I don't, I didn't even know they had such a group until they called me up and say, we named one after you. So let no one go with the impression as if, he's trying to advertise or he's trying to do one or two things that had nothing to do with it, okay? So I'm just saying that for the haters. God bless. 24 hours, 7 days a week. You can find your favorite program, Law and You, only on Pinnacle TV.